Kia ora. I'm Dr. Maria Bellringer. I'm Associate Director of the Gambling and Addictions Research Centre at AUT University. So here in the Gambling and Addictions Research Centre, we try and do research that has an impact and is going to affect and help to minimise harm here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. For example, one of the research projects that we've recently completed has been looking at the relationship between family violence and whānau violence against gambling. And the reason this research came about was because we were hearing from the treatment providers that family violence was quite prevalent amongst their clients that they were seeing. And there was no hard evidence for the relationship between family violence and problem gambling, and certainly no hard evidence here in New Zealand. So we put together a research proposal, went to the Ministry of Health, who agreed to fund the project. And as I say, we've just recently completed the project. We recruited around about 450 gamblers and affected others from the 3 national treatment service providers here in New Zealand, and interviewed those people, asked them a few questions about family violence and gambling. And then about half of those people, about 200 of them, we interviewed much more in depth with a long survey. What we found is that the relationship between family violence and problem gambling is quite common. Around about 50% of our participants, so gamblers and affected others, said that there had been some form of family violence. Slightly more people said that they had been victims of family violence than perpetrating the family violence. Most of the violence was verbal, so shouting or cursing at someone or insulting them. The levels of physical violence and threats of physical violence, sexual abuse were much lower, but they did still occur. The relationship between family violence and gambling, we found, was there was a much higher chance of being a victim of family violence with problem gambling in the family. If you had dependent children living at home, so children less than 18 living in the household. And we also found that gamblers and affected others were more likely to perpetrate family violence if they had a family or whānau member who had a mental health issue. So as you can see, the linkages between family violence are quite complex. It's not just that if you're a problem gambler there's going to be higher family violence, but could be related to other issues like mental health issues, not necessarily your own but somebody else's, because there are young children in the household.